Hey guys, Table here. Today we got to look at the Tier 4 Russian cruiser Krasny Krym. Kuznetsov on the screen here. This is the build that I would use for it. I'm not 100% sure if I had this one or I switch it back to the AP focus if I play ships like Kirov or Molotov. Sometimes my build gets screwed up, so I'm not 100% sure if I had the IFHE perk or the AP pen perk equipped for this game. Either way, what this thing is, it's basically an up-tiered Svetlana. What's that you say? You got a Tier 3 cruiser and Tier 4? Yeah, I mean, it's not a horrible ship, but I don't really see the point of this one, to be honest with you. So you got your 15 by 1 130s for the gun setup. If you get all the guns, you get 8 on target per side here. So it's kind of like an Atlanta, kind of a high volume HE spam. I feel like it's more accurate than the Svetlana because I did not enjoy that ship whatsoever. Maybe I didn't enjoy it because it didn't do any damage, kind of like this one. I can't remember. I don't have really fond memories of Svetlana, nor do I have any intention of playing it again anytime soon. But this one, it's not horrible. I mean, I've put some decent games together. It's one of these support type cruisers that are going to have a hard time carrying just due to the fact that it has low damage output. So in order to build a repertoire of high damage throughout the game, you need to, number one, have the rest of your team survive and be kind of semi-involved, semi-distracting for the enemy team to allow you to, get into your positions, fire your guns a million times, and then slowly rack up the damage. So that's kind of the play style. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, the guns are pretty accurate. You'll see they get some fairly high seconds to target numbers as we're shooting long range. A key difference between this and the Svetlana, this one has 16.3 range, 15 on that one. We could compare it to the Kirov, but the Kirov I run as more of an AP type of a cruiser. That one has the 180s, and that AP on that ship is very solid. So I feel it's quite a different playstyle from the Kirov. Stats-wise, I mean, the range, similar. The turret verse, the same. Reload quite a bit quicker, 8.1 compared to 13.5 on the Kirov. Torps, similar thing. You got 5 kilometers in these in the water instead of 4 that you see in a lot of the Russian cruisers. This one, Krasny's really slow, 29 knots, slowest at the tier on my builds. Tightest turning circle, 590, so I'm kind of anti what you typically see. Usually the Russian cruisers have like the biggest turn circles, This one has a pretty long rudder shift, 7.2, so yeah, I mean the mobility's not great just due to the low speed, but nice turn radius. Detection 11.8, that's the highest at the tier except for the Kirov on my build, so I don't necessarily run these Russians with the concealment focus, so you can bring that down a little bit if you want, but it's not going to be really stealthy. Consumables, you can see you got damage con and sonar, so nothing too wild there. But you'll see here when we're kind of bombing on the Wyoming. Now, yeah, we're sitting here broadside of this thing. This Krasny Krym doesn't hold up to incoming battleship fire very easily, but what I'm doing is evaluating the situation. This is a low tier game, so despite the fact that we're constantly raining shells on this guy, he's got targets that are closer to him, at least currently. So he's very likely to be distracted. But you can see here the range of damage we're getting. It's what, 5 hits. We got just over 1,000 damage there. I think you get about 250 per shell hit, give or take, on most of these battleships. Providing that you're landing the shells and that, what you're kind of hoping for is fires. So if you really want to spec this ship out, a build for this ship in particular, you'd probably want to enhance the fire damage as much as possible, just due to the fact that those HE shells not gonna break any records just on their own. Anyway, this is kind of the style early on. We'll get into more of aggressive play here as the game develops, but content to just kind of whittle this thing down. Now, it's going to take a little while, but we're going to end up doing a fair amount of damage to this Wyoming. He doesn't have an opportunity to return fire. We're not even being spotted right now. But he's just kind of sailing along the other side of that island. And, you know, this is typical. I mean, this is a tier 4 cruiser, so you can kind of get away with some goofy plays. Less than textbook quality plays, I guess, from time to time. But, I mean, you can see this is a tier 3, tier 4 game. This ship has a bit of an issue when you're up-tiered. Just, again, because you got these low-caliber 130s. The armor is gradually getting better and better as you go up, so it's just harder and harder to deal damage. And this isn't a high damage output machine to begin with, so I don't know. I don't think I'd probably put a recommendation on the Krasny Krym. Number one, you know, it's a green XP ship, so trying to save up for the tier 7s is probably the best bet in terms of fun ships and quality ships. This is just kind of a stumbling block, a little bit of a distraction. I think it's like 150, 75, something like that. Whatever it was, you got to pony up some green stars, and that'll just kind of slow you down. Luckily, I was streaming the other day, and a few viewers kind of all chipped in and got this one for me, so I appreciate that. Give me the opportunity to cover it. Like I say, it's not really horrible, but it's not my all-time favorite. Here, though, we're kind of shifting. You can see we had that, I think it was a doogie over here, and he was sitting there broadside. Now, what I want to do is get on A at this point in time. You can see we're only up one ship. The score's decent. We got a decent lead because we've had 2 caps. They've only had 1. But if we can get on A, that's a bit of an insurance policy. Again, with the Krasny Krym, I don't really trust its carry potential just because it doesn't have the spikes in damage that it's capable of. Usually for a ship to carry, you need to be able to eliminate enemies within reasonable amounts of time. This one, though, is more of a sustained kind of a... It's got a similar feel to like an Algerie or some of those French cruisers where if you're alive the entire game, if you're in a decent position, then you can put up some pretty good numbers. You can have an effect on the game that way. But this upcoming sequence is really, you know, close range combat. You can get into these kind of spikes and damage situations here. What's going on? The doogie's coming around. I'm on A now. As soon as the ganget pops up on the map, that changes the analysis. Because I was basically going to capture the base, creep forward, blast the doogie. Gang gets a hard counter this thing. You can probably one-shot me pretty easily. Now, so we're keeping an eye on him. We get the cap there. We're going to keep an eye on both the Kirov, and, well, the Kirov's way in the back, I think. I think it's the doogie that's closer. And the Ganget here. So the Ganget's looking like he's kind of turning. We're basically just keeping an eye on the map here. Looks like he's turning away from us. He might be thinking, this guy's got torps. Don't want to deal with this. So he's turning away towards the gap. So now I'm just going to barely peek around. I'm relying on that ship kind of continuing along. We don't have a plane, of course. We could pop the sonar right now. That would probably be a good play. But that's what we were looking for. The doogie coming around. We had AP loaded. Blast him. And there you can see very effective AP at close range. It's not massively high damage. In fact, it's just barely second lowest at the tier, at least on my builds. But or no, that's HE. AP is way at the bottom. I got 2,500 AP max damage there. 4 Citadels, though, point blank range, were able to take him out. And now the Ganget's in a bit of a problem. You can see we're keeping an eye on the indicator, and he was going forward, he's stopping, then he's kind of backing up, and he's a little bit committed to that play. Now, luckily, he doesn't have the guns. He's trying to disengage from whatever's in front of him, and we're just using his momentum. At this point in time, when he's going forward, he gone, by the way. But when he's going forward, stops, and then reverses, especially in a very low-tier battleship like this, they typically cannot start and stop very easily, so he wasn't going to be able to get out of that once he kind of committed to backing up, and we were able to convert there. So Krasny Krym doesn't send a tingle up my leg, but you might enjoy it. Anyway, that's a look at the ship. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. A lot of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later.